Hello everyone, today we are going through 7 steps for you to buy the first rental property for only 5% down. Welcome everyone to my webinar. Today we are going to talk about a very hot topic, which is residential investment property. And specifically today I'll show you a very unique strategy that can allow you to buy investment property, a rental property which gives you earned income, right? Which gives you rental income, I'm sorry about that, in 7 steps. And you only have to put down 5%. And normally you are required to buy 20%. You put down 20%, 25% for an investment property, for a rental property. But today's episode, I show you how you can do that with only 5% down. With that, let's dive right into the information. Okay, so a little bit about myself. My name is Longley. I have been a real estate agent for the last 5 years, more than 5 years, and I have been helping a lot of investors, specifically new investor, into the investing journey. For those who are looking for a long-term rental, who are seeking to find opportunity to earn extra income rather than the W-2 income, rather than the earned income that they normally have in a day-to-day life. Okay, I specialize in helping with residential property as well as small multi-family unit. So with that, and that give me the opportunity to talk to you today about a very unique strategy. This is actually the way that I use to obtain my first rental property. So I'm happy to share with you this strategy right here so that you can get the property for only 5% as well. All right, let's dive into the information. Okay, so as you see, I just want to open the conversation today, which first reminding you about the benefit of owning a rental property. As you see here, there's plenty of options for you to go with. There's plenty of benefit for you. Okay, number one, we're talking about having financial freedom, diversification of investment. All right, you don't have to put in stock all the time. It's give you a passive income, equity growth, tax advantages. This is the number one thing that all the investment do not have. We high call do not have, right? If you own stock, even if you do CD, right, you still have to pay a very high tax on the gain. But for real estate, you do have to pay property like capital gain tax. However, though, most of the time you can defer that tax, that capital gain tax as well. And even within the time frame, there is some way that you don't have to pay. Okay, we can discuss in that in another videos. But today, I just want to give you the high level of the benefit as well. All right. Um, Now we're talking about the 7 baby steps, right? So we're talking, here's the high level of the 7 baby steps. Step number one, save for $1,000. Step number two is to pay off debt. Step number five is save up for 5% down. Number four is to buy a primary home, but wait for it. Five, six, and seven gonna give you a way to convert that primary home into an investment property. Okay, so here's is the high level of the 7 baby step. Of course, if everything makes sense now, you can finish the webinar. But I hope you hang out for a little bit because I'm gonna go deeper, much detail in each step right now. All right. So right here, number one is to save for $1,000. Okay, save for $1,000. Some of you might asking why $1,000, right? It doesn't make any sense. We are talking about buying a house right now. Why are you talking about saving $1,000? Remember, the purpose of today is to show you a very unique way to buy a property investment rental property for only 5%. And most of you, most of you, maybe you are not even on a house yet, right? So step number one is to prove to yourself that you have the uh, not financially capable, but mentally capable of doing this, okay? Because for me, when you own a house, you take on a big responsibility, okay? And even if you cannot even um, push yourself into saving for $1,000, how can you manage the entire house? And if you cannot do that, it would be better for you to not buying a property. So that's the reason why I want to encourage people for step one. It creates a good momentum for you. The 1,000 amount, if you say it's a lot, it's not actually a lot. If you say it's little, it's actually not little for a lot of people either. So, but it's in a manageable size, okay, compared to a house that you are going to buy in step number 7 or step number 4, right? So it gives you a momentum, it gives you a proof that you emotionally prepare to take on the bigger responsibility. And therefore, this is very crucial, important first step, okay? Step number 2 is to pay off bad debt. Okay, what is considered as bad debt? It is something that that is the debt that you take on, and you have to pay more than what you take on. For example, a credit card is a bad debt. Uh, if you don't pay on time, right? If you spend $1,000 and then you end up like at the end of the payment, when the balance becomes zero again, you end up paying 2,000. Okay, then it's a bad debt because you're only supposed to pay one, but then you have to pay two, right? So another bad debt is the loan on the car. Okay, if you buy a car at $15,000 and then you take on a loan, you end up paying 20,000. Not to mention that the value of the car generally reduces as well. So by the end of the terms, your car is no longer worth 15,000. It may be only worth 2 or 3,000 at that time, right? So it even gives you more liability when you take on the debt. In the other hand, a good debt is something that you take on and give you the income from that debt. Okay, for example, even with the same example of the loan on the car, right? If you take on the loan of the $15,000 car and you use that car for a Uber service or Lyft service, right? Then it gives you income, right? So even though you still pay at the end of the term, you may end up paying the same amount, 25,000, but it's already give you the income during that period, or otherwise you don't have any money. So it actually create a good money for you during that period. So that therefore it can consider a good debt. Owning a house and a mortgage is considered a good debt as well. Because why? Because the value of the house in general at the long term goes up, right? So you pay probably only 5%, 20%. We're talking about 10,000 or 50,000, right? And then you end up having a very big access to it. It may be 400,000, and eventually you only 500,000. Okay, perhaps when after a long time of holding it, of course, right? So that is considered a good debt because it gives you more value than the thing that you actually put down, right? So you pay off bad debt. Why? Number one reason is it's gonna give enough. Again, remember step one when you save up 1,000. Okay, in step two, that's probably more than 1,000. Right? On average, the amount of debt that people have is more than 1,000. So it's the next step of money that you can put together and spend on purpose, right? Because a lot of people nowadays spending money without any purpose. You just say, oh, this one is cool, I buy. Oh, that one is cool, I buy. Okay, so it's create the habit of spending the money without any purpose. But in here, step number 2 is actually a higher level step compared to step number 1 to pay, so that you can be like get ready emotionally, like I said earlier, right? And then the benefit number 2 is that when you take on the mortgage in buying a house, the fact that you don't have any bad debt on your account is actually give you the potential to get approved for a higher amount of loan. Not even to mention a higher amount, but also it's easier for you to get approved as well. So by doing this, you not only just emotionally prepare, even more emotionally prepare for taking on the big journey, but also financially prepare to be approved for the future purchase of your home, of your property, right? So that's the reason why I recommend step number 2 is to pay off your bad debt. Okay. Step number 3 is to save for the 5% down. All right. So this is the last financial step that you have to prepare, which is the 5% down. Okay, this is, remember, this is the ultimate goal, because the 5% is what we are seeking for putting down on the property, right? You can put less, actually. You can put 3% or 3.5% down. But here's the thing, the less you put into the deal, the more loan that you have to take on, and the higher mortgage payment, which may not be sufficient. And most of the time, if you put down 5% down, the interest rate is actually better than the 3% interest rate, 3% down. So it is having some benefit there for the 5% down payment. Okay. Now, how much is 5%, right? Someone of you like, I don't know how much is that. Okay. So it really depends on the property, the type of the property that you are seeking for. Okay. In this step, I would recommend you to talk to a real estate agent and discuss with him or her about about your goal, and tell them, okay, I want to buy a house, follow this strategy right here. I want a house in this area. I want a house with 3 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 4 bedrooms. I want a single family house. I want a condos. Tell them about the criteria of the house, so that he or she can give you the general idea of how much the house would cost. For example, if you buy a Chandler house, probably somewhere around 450 to 500. Let's use a 500 as an example. Okay, then if it is 500,000, then the 5% of the 500,000 is 25,000. Then you can calculate that way, right? So if you haven't bought a house and you don't have an idea of how much a house you're going to buy worth, then discussing with a real estate agent is a very worthy conversation for you to take. All right. So that's the 5% down, and then uh, with the 5%, okay, yes, this is a benefit, right? This is a misconception of a lot of people are thinking that you have to put down 20% down for the rental property. Now, you do the 5% down, you can buy a property. But here's the thing, in step 4, you actually buy a primary home. All right. Some of you may think, "Oh, why are you tricking me? That's not good, man. I thought that we are going to talk about buying investment property, not a primary home. I don't want a primary home. I want a rental." Okay. Well, that's fair. Now, here's the thing. If you don't want to pay for your own house, okay, by paying for the rental, you can do that. Absolutely do that too. But here is a step for you to achieve your financial freedom, right? If you want financial freedom, if you want to pay for your mortgage and eventually become the zero balance on that mortgage, right? This is the step that you should take. Okay, so buying a primary, but the reason why buying the primary home is that legally, if you buy a primary home and then you rent it out, that is considered mortgage fraud. So we don't want to do that. We want, but in fact, with 5% down, we can buy a primary home outright, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Then when you do that, and you can take on a lot of benefit of real estate as well. For example, potential appreciation or some of the tax deduction on the interest that you pay as well as you live into the property. So when you live into the property, it doesn't mean that you're going to take on a full 100% mortgage payment of that property, right? But rather, I would suggest you do step number 5 is to share a room. Okay, to share a room and get extra income. This is giving you the opportunity so that you can get some extra income as you stay in the house, and that extra income could be a portion of your mortgage payment, or could be an additional saving for you to put down into the next property. Okay, which we're going to talk about in step number 6. Some of you may ask me, what if I'm not comfortable doing sharing a room? Then don't. Then don't do it. You can skip the entire step 5 if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Some people do, some people don't, for security reason. If you feel even a little bit better, if you do short-term rental for a room or two, then you can certainly do that as well, right? So, in other words, I would say get some additional income in step number 5 by utilize the real estate that you have, right? Like I said earlier, instead of paying someone rent, have someone rent a portion of your real estate and have that person pay a portion of your mortgage payment, and it could give you more opportunity, faster opportunity to reach your financial goal. Okay, so after you save up in step number 5, for the enough uh, step number 5 there, right? Eventually, you're gonna see the home price, the primary home growth in terms of value. Okay, at that time, when you have enough equity in the house, you can do a step called refinance cash out. Why do you have to do that? So that you can get back the 5%, at least the 5% that you put into the equation. Remember the 25,000 that you put into the house is actually inside the house. It goes nowhere, right? So at step 6, after a year, that's what my recommendation, because in normal, it's really difficult for you to get back the 25,000 with less than a year. So at least a year before you can even consider that. Okay, so and so when you do that, you get some additional cash flow, additional cash in the bank account, at least 25,000 back, right? Or even more if you want to. And then remember, in step 5, you get some extra income from sharing a room. Combining the two money, you can actually go in step 7, buy the second house as a primary home and rent out the first house, convert the first house to the rental property. And there you go. You have the first rental property for only what? 5% down payment. So this is the exactly 7 step that I did to get my first investment property. Um, and I'm very happy with that decision. I didn't spend a lot of capital upfront, and this is really good when you are able to do that with a very minimal amount of cash. 25,000, to be honest. Well, with the median income right now in Arizona, a single family can take like maybe 1 or 2 years to be able to achieve that already. So in contradictory with a lot of people saying 20%, which imagine that could be $100,000 for 500,000, and it could take more than 10 years to be able to do that. And by the end, if you save up for 10 years, by the end of year 10, you're already tired of uh, get into the rental property deal, right? And by the end of 10 years, the $500,000 house already way more than $500,000 house, right? And you may end up not be able to buy the rental property anymore. And therefore, it is better to spend only 5% down, make you into the game faster, and utilize share room, refinance, get cash out, get all the financial advantage from owning the property into step number 7 right here. All right. Thank you so much everyone for watching today's video. I'm so excited to share with you. If you do have any questions regarding this strategy, please let me know and I will share more information with you. Thank you. Bye.